computer? Almost forgot that piece. That's the important part. Okay. Let me know when you can see my screen again, the PowerPoint.
Okay.
Is it not sharing? Okay. Do you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Oh, good. Good. All right. Technology is working as it should. All right. So this workshop covers the entire process from beginning in the system, starting with the position description, all the way through hiring a candidate and onboarding that new hire. So we'll go ahead and jump in. As you can see, we have a very long agenda. It looks a little daunting, but we will be able to get through it in about 2 hours. So if you have questions at any point, just go ahead and let us know and we can pause and answer questions. I have Marla Clark on the line. She's been the project manager for the CHRS Recruiting project. So she is going to serve to answer questions that you have if you want to type anything in chat, if we're in the middle of running a demonstration, and we'll definitely stop and answer any questions. So first of all, what is CHRS Recruiting and how do I access the system? CHRS Recruiting is a cloud-based recruiting system. It's integrated with all 23 campuses. So that means that once everyone is online, because now we only have a handful of campuses on, everyone will be working in the same system. This provides a number of benefits. It's more efficient for us. We'll have all of our information in the same place. We'll be going from the Flintstones to the Jetsons here because we were the last campus in the system still on a paper recruitment system. I think once you really get to see the system, you'll really like it. It is a little challenging to learn at first, as every new system is, but it provides so many benefits, having everything in one place, having all of the applications ready for evaluation, working through the system and seeing where it is in approvals. Just so many great features. So your first question probably is, how do I get there? How do I even get into CHRS Recruiting? So the first way you can do that is by going to our Stan State webpage. Can you see the webpage? Just want to make sure the computer's keeping up here.
Not yet.
Okay.
There it is. Yeah.
All right. All right, so I'm going from our Stan State webpage, I'm just doing the /HR to take us to the Human Resources page. First of all, right here on this Human Resources page, you'll find, right on the right-hand side of the page, you'll find the CHRS Recruiting login. So that's one place you can find it, right from the Human Resources webpage. Another location is from the Human Resources webpage, or if you just do a search in the search bar for CHRS Recruiting. We have a whole section of the website just for CHRS Recruiting. Everything from information about the system itself, the project team, and then this last link on the CHRS Recruiting page is for training. I'm going to go ahead and click on the training link and show you that right at the top of the training page, you have another link for CHRS Recruiting login. And another benefit of this page is at the very bottom, we have user guides. So if you ever have a question on the process, we have very detailed step-by-step user guides with screen caps, and these are always available to you. We're also going to post this recording on the webpage, so if you ever need to go back to the training, if you'd like the walkthrough again, that will be available for you. And every time we offer this training through Zoom, we're going to upload that presentation to this site. So it will always be the most current version of the training. Now there's one more way, and this is my preferred way because I access a lot of different systems, and that's using your My Stan State portal. You can access My Stan State. It's below the search bar on every web page on our site. If you click on it, it'll open up your employee dashboard. And on the employee dashboard, you have a section with employee links. Underneath here will be every system that you have access to that's offered through our campus, and CHRS Recruiting is right there near the top. Okay, are you guys able to see that?
Yes.
Great, all right. Things are working the way they should, that's even better. Okay, so once we've logged in, you'll see something that looks like this. Now, I'm going to be working in the test system today, so some of the features, some of the web pages will look slightly different for you when you log into production. I'm in the test system so that I can play around and create position descriptions and do all sorts of things without affecting our actual real production system. For the most part, everything will look very, very similar when you log in. You'll start off at your dashboard, and depending on your permissions, you may see this many tiles, you may not. Now, if you are serving in a role as an assistant, if you're going to be helping the dean or chair by creating position descriptions, job requisitions, you will need to submit an OIT information security form and ask for access the same way that you would with PeopleSoft or any of our other online systems. Once you do, you can work with your chair or dean, whoever the hiring manager is, and create these documents for them so that you can both work back and forth in the system like you typically would with a paper process. So let's see. First of all, on our dashboard, I just wanted to point out our Scan State logo here at the top. So at any point, if you're somewhere in the system and you don't know how to get back to the main page, if you click on the Scan State logo, that's your home button. It'll always take you right back to my dashboard. What we're going to do is we're going to begin with position descriptions. Just like with the paper process, we begin with the position description and then we create the job posting based on that position description. In the past, we've had Word documents that we've worked off, but now all of that will be electronic. If you already have a Word document with a position description, that's absolutely fine. You can cut and paste into the new form. So I'll show you how you can do that. So the first thing you're going to do is go to the position description tile, which is the very first tile here on the dashboard. And you'll click on the button on there that says Manage Position Description. Now, once that happens, I will see a list of position descriptions. Are you able to see this on your screen?
Yes.
Great. All right, and now that I'm looking down, I'm seeing there are only a handful of position descriptions, and they're all, it's not what I'm looking for. They all say analyst. Well, it's because if I look up here, the last time I did a search in the system, I put analyst for working title. Even if you log out of the system, shut down the computer, boot it back up, and come back in, the system will remember whatever you did last time. So it's quite possible that you've entered a working title or position number or any of that information, and the system will only pull that information. So in order to clear it out and start a new search, you'll just want to hit clear.
That's
search.
a good, it happens more often than not. I mean, even to us, this is a stuff that remembers your previous search history. So that's a common mistake.
It definitely is. It's something that's tripped me up on occasion too, and here I am saying it in the workshop, so it's very easy to forget. But when all else fails, clear it and start over, and now you'll see that I have all of these position descriptions here. Remember, I'm in the test system, so there are only a handful of positions already in here. In production, you'll have many, many more because you'll have access to all of the CSU system templates. In order to create a position description, you can do it one of two ways. First, you could use a position that's already there, something that's similar to yours, and you can copy it and then edit that copy. You can use a template, a system-wide template in the same way by copying it and creating your own version. Or you can create a new position description. Perhaps you have one already in the Word document. You know that you want to cut and paste. You can just start with a new position description as well. So I'm going to show you how to do it both ways. First of all, I can see Here are all of my positions that I have access to. You will only see the positions that have been labeled as your departments. So you won't see position descriptions for payroll or for whoever else is here. You'll see them for your departments, and you'll see the system-wide templates. Templates will look something like this. You'll see the word template in it. So I can look down and see, well, I'll just go ahead and take this first listing here. And that one looks very similar to what I'm going to be doing. So, hey, why don't I go ahead and use that one? I'll copy it, and then I'll use that to create my position description. Something very, very, very important to mention, do not click edit. Unless it's a position that you're building and it's your position description, do not click edit, or you'll be editing, either editing the position working on, or you'll be editing the system-wide template. And the other campuses will not like it if we edit the system-wide template. So please, please, please do not click edit. What you will click is view, which will open up that position description. And what I can do is scroll down and see, okay, this is for a payroll tech 2. I can scroll down and look and see whether it really does meet my needs, whether it's very similar to the position that I'm recruiting for. And if that's the case, then I will copy it and I'll create my own version. And by doing that, there are these 3 little dots up here in the corner. If you hover over it, it says more actions. When I click on that, my option on here is copy position description. And that is what I want to click. So I'm going to go ahead and click copy position description. And now what I see is that information that I saw in the job earlier, but now all the fields are editable, and I can change them as I need to fit my department and my position. So that's one way you can build a position description. It works exactly the same way if you're going to do it with a template as well. I'm going to run through that really quickly because it never hurts to repeat some material. I'll go ahead and click the Stan State logo to go back to my home page, to my dashboard. I'll click Manage Position Descriptions from my Position Description tile. And then just for an example, I'm going to pull one of the templates that we have here. So here I have a template for ASC1. Remember, I'm not going to hit edit because it's a system-wide template. I'm going to click on view. I'll verify that this is the correct position that I'm intending to use. Click on those 3 dots. And then I'll click copy position description. Then I can see, I know that this is a new position description because it'll say it right in the top corner here, new position description. So now I can edit those fields, and when I save it, it will be my own. So that's one way you can create a position description, by using a position that's already in the system. We'll look at the other way and we'll actually, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Can you see position descriptions from other campuses on here?
No, we can't. And what will happen is when you create your position description, we'll go through this form in just a minute, but to answer your question, right here under position information, you see something called internal team. Right now, because I've opened a system-wide template, it says available to all teams. That means every campus, every team, everyone will be able to see it. So when you create a position description, it should default to whatever your department is.
Oh,
the person I'm controlling happens to be in economics, so it should default to that, but just make sure, especially if you're using a system-wide template, you'll want to select the internal team that relates to that position. You may support more than one department, so you may have more than one team. But just make sure it is for that specific department, and then the only people who can view your position description are those who have access to your departments.
Yeah, so it's only the people that's in your team, essentially, that CHRS Recruiting calls it. But if you start from a template, it'll always default to available to all teams because the templates themselves are available to all teams. That's the only way to make them so that every campus in the system has access to the system-wide templates. So if you start from a system-wide template, the internal team will always default to available to all teams. So you need to use the drop-down, and the teams that you have access to based on your permissions will be available for you to select. So you'll need to select one so that others do not see your position description. There have been errors where folks have not changed the internal team and have submitted with available to all teams, and we receive calls from the other campuses that are live. Position description, please, please edit.
Right.
Team. So it's just something that, through training, we all need to be mindful of that. If we start from a template, we need to change the internal team. But if you start from brand new, which I think is what Kim's going to show you next, just a brand new, not using a template, it should default to your primary team.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thanks.
That's the next thing we're going to do. We'll start with a new position description starting from scratch. So I'm just going to click on the STANSCATE logo, go back to my dashboard, because I'll start as if we've just logged in and we're just beginning. I'll go to my position description tile, and I'll click on Manage Position Descriptions. I still see I have access to all of the existing position descriptions, but I know I already have an approved one in a Word document. So I want to go ahead and I want to start from that. In order to do that, I will click from this main page here, I'll click New Position Description. It's a little hard to see, but it should always be here in your top left corner. And if you hover over it, you're able to click on New Position Description, and it will give me that form that we just briefly saw a moment ago, but it will tell you you have a new position description, and when I scroll down, I'll see that nothing is filled in. So I'm able to start, and I know that this will be my own position.
And you see that the internal team automatically defaulted to her primary team.
Mm-hmm. So this person's in economics, it defaulted to economics as her internal team. So the only time that may be different is if you support more than one department. You may have to do a drop down and select, for example, if this person supported both economics and agriculture. You'll have to select whichever department applies to that position.
Yeah, and I do support 2 programs.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So you'll have more than one
that's associated as a primary, and then your additional as additional teams. So yes, you would just need to, if you're submitting, as you're submitting position descriptions or requisitions, make sure that you select the appropriate team for the department that you're submitting it on behalf of.
Okay, so the first thing I see on new position description is I have 3 tabs here at the top. We're not really going to use these tabs for the position description, but I want to mention them because you'll see them again in job requisitions and other areas of the site. This main page is position information. This is where you're going to put all of your information about the particular position. If I click on the second tab, I have a notes page. If you ever have any notes to add, for example, confirmation of funding from a department or anything that you want to add to it that's relevant to this position, you can add it there. We also have a documents tab. This may be a place if you want to add an org chart, perhaps, about this position description and where it falls. But right now, neither of those tabs are required for position description. I just wanted you to be aware that they're there. We're going to stick mainly to position info. So we'll just go ahead and scroll down and look at the form itself. Our very first box is type of action requested. Typically, you're going to choose new. You're creating a new position description, but you may have a replacement. So we'll go ahead and select new. This person's in economics, so her internal team defaulted to economics. You've mentioned that you support more than one department, so you'll need to click the drop down and choose whichever team, whichever department this position resides in. The job code or employee classification, I'll go ahead and click the magnifying glass to show you how you can search. I do want to mention as well that when you are in CHRS Recruiting, you'll want to have pop-ups enabled. If you ever click on something like the magnifying glass and nothing happens, check the top of your browser. There may be a note that says pop-ups are not enabled, or you can just go ahead and click and make sure that they're enabled. That's usually what prevents it from opening a window if you click something. So I clicked the magnifying glass. I can see I have all of these job codes in here. I can select the one that I want if I don't already know it. I'm just going to go ahead and choose Accountant 2 for this one, just for the sake of an example. If I scroll to the bottom, the very bottom here, I have OK or Cancel. But I wanted to show you above that, you have the information about this position. It pulls all of that information from PeopleSoft. That'll also help you determine if this is the correct position you're trying to pull. I'll go ahead and click OK. Now, if I had done that incorrectly and I had put the wrong position in here, there's an eraser icon right next to the magnifying glass. So if I click on the eraser icon, it will automatically delete whatever was in that box. It works that way throughout the site with any field. So I'll go ahead and click the magnifying glass again, although at some point you might see it as binoculars. It's the same thing, it's still a search function. Go ahead and choose Accountant 1 for this one, and then OK. You'll notice as I go down, there are fields that have an asterisk next to them, and there are fields that don't. Anytime you see the asterisk, it means that's a required field. So if I don't fill that in, I'm not going to be able to submit this position description. Or in other places on the site, I won't be able to submit whatever it is I'm working on. If there is no asterisk, you don't have to put that information. You can if you want to, but it's not required. We have the classification title here, not required at this time. Position numbers also not required at this time. However, if you have it, please go ahead and put the position number in. If it's a position that exists but you don't know the position number, I recommend asking your college analyst, because the analyst will be able to look that information up. And the more information you put in this form, the more it will help you later on, because things will copy over. Coming down to the CSU working title, remember this is the title that we're going to use for the job posting. So for this example, Accountant 1 is probably sufficient for the working title if we wanted to put that in there. If we have a more complex title with a lot of abbreviations in it, you'll want to write it out. So administrative analyst instead of admin, ANLYST. However you want it to look when we post the position. Salary range and grade is not required at this time. Reports to supervisor. This one is required, and it's important to note that when we're talking about a reports to, we're talking about the position. So we're not looking at the person to whom this position currently reports. In PeopleSoft, what position does this one report to? So I went ahead, and I should have done that more slowly, I apologize. I will click the magnifying glass to do a search. And I notice when I look down the position numbers here, I see a lot of position numbers and then I see letters in front of those numbers. Those letters indicate the campus that position belongs to. So for example, CHRS Fresno. If you want to see only positions for our campus, and you probably will, go ahead and put in ST for Stanislaus. And then you will only see position numbers for Stan State. So this one is an Accountant 1. That's the example I chose. I'm going to say the supervisor is an Accountant 2. That may not be the case in reality, but we'll just pick that as an example. When I pick Accountant 2, and it gives me this specific position, again, I have the information down here at the bottom that's pulled from PeopleSoft. So I can see the position number. I can see to whom this one reports. So this is really a great way to find out, is this really the position mine reports to? Because usually you'll have the name of the incumbent right here. I'm going to click OK. For campus, we'll pick Stanislaus. Right now this list is fairly short because these are the only campuses that have gone live in the system. but eventually we will be at the very bottom because that's where we fall alphabetically of all 20 of the campuses. So you may have to scroll a bit. So Stanislaus. Division, I will choose, let's see, she's in economics, I'll choose academic affairs. College or program, I believe that one is social science, department, economics. So just drop down and find yours. Again, these fields are required and they're important because they help us determine the approvals later on in the, FLSA status, is this exempt or non-exempt? Let's say non-exempt for this one. Pay plans not required. If it is anything other than 12 months, this is a good place to go ahead and put that information in. And if the position isn't a 12-month position, you'll need to list which months are off. Then we get down to sensitive position. What you'll need to do is look through each description and determine whether this position applies, whether it's a yes or no. For example, will this position include the care of people, including minors, animals, and property, the authority to commit financial resources, access to controlled or hazardous substances? You can see down the list here, you just need to answer yes or no. If at any point you select yes, then yes, it is a sensitive position. And you'll go ahead and click that radio button. Now there is a glitch in the system that we're aware of. When you go onto the job requisition, even if you've selected yes for any of these questions, sensitive position has defaulted to no, so you will have to click that. And I'll mention that again when we get there. As we keep on scrolling down, we'll see we have the job summary or basic function. This is the basic description of the position itself and what it does. Then you have the minimum and required qualifications. These are based on the class standards. If you're not sure what they are, you can also look at the job templates that we have in the system, and it will show you the minimum and required qualifications for that position. Preferred qualifications is anything beyond that, things that you would like to have that would not necessarily exclude someone from the process, but may help you narrow down a candidate. For example, perhaps you want someone who has web development experience or knows how to edit websites. You can put that down here as something you're looking for, but it would not exclude candidates. Any licenses or certification, and then if this person supervises employees or not. If they do, you'll need to list the positions that they will supervise, not the names of the individuals in those positions. For example, you may have 2 student assistants, so you would put student assistants in here. Any questions about that section? Okay, we'll keep on rolling on. Okay, job duties is the next section. This is that, I believe it was section J of the Word document, where you have that very long table. You put in the percentage of time that someone spends on a task and then a description of the duties and responsibilities. This is the same thing, but just in this format. So what I'll do is I'll click New to add one. I'll put in my percentage of time. I'll just say 10% for this one. Duties and responsibilities. You enter in whatever it is. If you're copying from a Word document, you can go ahead and paste, cut and paste the items into duties and responsibilities. And then whether this is an essential or marginal responsibility. And we'll go ahead and say essential for this one. Once I click add.
And that add button is really important. I was just troubleshooting, helping 2 people yesterday actually that had the same issue. The job duties, when they clicked new, they were typing in the text box, but they were not clicking the add button afterwards. So it wasn't actually adding it as a job duty. And so when they went to save the position description, they errored out. So that's, you need to add, click that add button for it to actually take.
It's a very good point. So yes, definitely click on that. You can see as well that once you add something, it's not set in stone. So if this first responsibility where I just put test, if I needed to edit that, I can click edit or remove if I had entered in something correctly. So you can still go back and edit. Another thing to mention is you see the percentage of time column. The system does not calculate the total percentage of time. So I know that we all feel like we do 150% of our jobs. So we have to make sure that when we submit the job duties, they only equal 100%. And that's just something that we'll have to do.
100. They shouldn't equal 90.
Right. And then 10% doing who knows what.
Right.
Okay. So we'll keep on moving then past the job duties. We have physical, mental, and environmental demands. You probably won't have things that will go in these boxes, but on occasion you might. For example, if you have a physical demand, like someone will be working on the roof or in conditions that are extremely hot if they're working outside, you'll want to include these as the physical, mental, and environmental demands. But for the most part, you will not use these. Our final section is users and approvals. Now, if I get to this section and I see something really strange in this section called approval process, then I'll go ahead and I'll show you what I mean by strange. I'm going to scroll right back up to the top. I'll leave Stanislaus as our campus, but I'll choose President's Office as another, as the division. When I scroll to the bottom, no, that didn't do anything. Okay, I'll choose a different campus.
Yeah, you have to choose a different campus.
Okay, I'll choose Fresno. So when I scroll to the bottom, I see that there is no approval process. Well, that's weird. Why don't I have an approval process? It's because I didn't fill out that campus section properly. So if that happens, if you see that there's nothing in the approval process, or when you do the drop downs, it says none, that means that you need to go back up to the top and just make sure that the campus, division, and college program, all of that is correct. So I'll click Stanislaus again. Just really quickly, I'll do what I did earlier so that we can look at an example. Back to economics, scrolling all the way to the bottom again. And now it looks like it should. You can see that approval process says ST, which is Stanislaus, staff, and MPP. Before we get there, you see this box up here that says justification for position. Now, our process in the past on campus with paper has been that when we submit a job requisition or SMR to HR, we've included a memo that was attached justifying the recruitment for that position. That's what this box is now. This replaces that memo. So instead of having to write up a memo, you would paste your information into this box. It's not required at this time. If you'd like to put it in here, you can, and it will carry over to the job requisition. If you don't, it will be required on the job requisition. The next line is hiring administrator, which is defaulting to this person filling out this is the hiring administrator filling out this paperwork. If you are working as the admin assistant, just make sure that the hiring administrator is the correct person, probably the department chair in your case. Then I would get down to approval process. I would fill in the supervisor. Then classification will be filled in for you. Stacy Gross-Schneider will review all of these positions and work out the classification and compensation for them. And then you have the next level MPP or department head, which would be over the supervisor. For example, if you have the department chair as supervisor, then the next level would be the dean. Finally, you have the HR faculty affairs rep at the bottom. That will also default for you, so you won't need to worry about filling that in. Now, at any point, you can save this as a draft and come back to it later. Perhaps you're working with your department chair and you both want to go into the file and look at it and make edits. And that's a great way to do that. You save it as a draft and you just keep going back in and submitting and fixing things however you need to. One thing to note is when you save it as a draft, if you've entered in all of these names under approval process, they will not save. That's done on purpose because if you think about it, you may fill out a position description now and you know that you're going to recruit for it a year from now. A year from now, the supervisor and next level MPP may change, may be different people. So this system prevents you from putting in the wrong person in the approval process if you save it and you come back to it later. Let's see. When you're ready to go, you would click either submit or submit and exit. They essentially do the same thing. And what will happen is this position will go through the system to the first person in the approval process, which would be the supervisor. So that's the position descriptions themselves. Do you have any questions about the position descriptions?
Nope.
All right. Okay, let's talk about approvals. Once I send this through, it'll start at the approval process. The supervisor, who I've entered in here, will receive an email that says you have a position description awaiting your approval. That person can log into the system, and then they'll have a button at the bottom of their screen that will say approve. So they can approve it that way. In some cases, they may be able to approve through email as well. Now, the system won't allow them to approve extremely sensitive things like an offer through an email, but let's say you and the chair have been working closely editing this document, the chair knows it's correct, and they get the email as supervisor asking to approve. The email will say you can approve through email if you just respond with the word approve. Now, it's important to note that approve is the only thing that they should enter, not I approve or approve smiley face or approve lots of exclamation marks, just approve. And the email will specify that, so it's not something they have to remember. But in some cases, the approval can be done through email. Once they approve or decline, it'll move on in the process. Approving means it will go on to the next step. In this case, that would be classification. If anyone declines at any point, it will go back to the very first level of approval again. So let's say we've gotten down to the next level MPP, which is the last piece of this approval process, but I've entered in the wrong person. That person will decline, which means it goes all the way back to supervisor. That's why it's so important to make sure that you have the right people listed in the approval process, because you definitely don't want to start over. Now, if some point you're in the approval process and there's some minor issue, there's perhaps a typo, go ahead and call your HR recruiter, whoever's assisting you with this recruitment, and see if they can help you without having to decline and start all over, because we may be able to go in and fix that without having to start the entire process over again. But it's just a note to please, please, please double and triple check and make sure that you have the correct people listed under the approvals. Are there any questions about the approval process?
No.
Okay, you're making this too easy for me. Okay, so I will go back to our dashboard, clicking on the Stan State logo. All right, so the next step of the process is to create our job requisition. In the past, this was our SMR form. Now we're going to do it through the system. The way I'll do that is by starting with my position description. So I'm going to use the same tile as I used before and click on Manage Position Descriptions. When I do, I'm going to find my particular job. I'm just going to go ahead and grab the first one again. I'll just keep using that as my example, this payroll technician. And what I need to look at is this approval status column. It's right before edit. Remember the edit that we should almost never click on. Approval status column will tell you where this position description is in the process. Currently, I think everything in here has been approved. If it's not approved, you'll see pending approval. You can only recruit for a position once the position description has been approved. I'll mention that again because it's really, really, really important. You can only recruit for a position once it's been approved. So if your position has been approved, there are two ways to go ahead and create your job rec. You can either click Recruit for Position, which is right here, or I can view the job, the position itself, and you'll see there's this blue button that says Recruit for Position. So either way will take you to the same page. If the position has not been approved yet and you try to open it you'll notice that this Recruit for Position button is grayed out and you can't click on it. So I'll just go ahead and click on that. What will happen is the system is now opening a new job requisition. You can see at the top of the page, it says New Job. You'll also see those 3 tabs again. And in some cases, like especially later on, when you are adding notes as a hiring manager from the interviews, or when the search committee is adding notes, you will use these other tabs. Right now, we're just going to focus on position information and documents. Now, before we go too far into the job requisition, I wanted to mention something with documents. Remember in the past when you've submitted paperwork, when you've submitted your SMR to HR, you've attached several documents. You attach the position description. You typically attach that memo justifying the recruitment. And then in some cases, you've attached other documents like an org chart or anything else that may be relevant. This is the same thing. Even though it's electronic, we're still going to attach our documents. So the first thing I'm going to do, just so I don't forget, it's kind of like when I'm writing an email and attaching a file. I'm going to save my position description and I'm going to attach it to this before I do anything else. So I'm going to go back to my home page. You could have just started here. I was just showing you how to get into the Recruit for Position. Going to my position descriptions, and then when I click View on my payroll technician, I'm trying to slow down a little bit so I can make sure the system catches up with me. Okay. Once I click View, remember this is where we went before when we just wanted to copy this position and create one like it. I clicked on those 3 little dots that say More Actions. This may seem a little counterintuitive, but just kind of follow along for just a moment. It'll make sense in a moment. We're going to click on Print. We're not actually printing anything, but what we're going to do is take this information and print it into a PDF so that I can attach it to my job requisition. So when I click on Print, your destination will probably default to whichever printer you use as your primary printer. You can print it if you want to, but there's really no reason to at this point. What you'll want to do is select Destination and click on Save as PDF. This will allow you to save the approved position description as a PDF and attach it to your job requisition the same way you would attach a physical page to a SMR. Once I click on Save, it's going to ask me where I want to save it. Just for the sake of this test, I'm saving it on my desktop and I'm just calling it Position Description Test. I'll click Save. The system says it's saving, and there we go. It's been saved to my desktop. Since I'm already here, since I've already opened this position, I can go ahead and click that Recruit for Position button because it happens to already be here. It's the quickest way there. So I'll click that Recruit for Position. I'll see I have my new job. If I scroll down, I can see all of that information that I filled in has all been copied over from the position description, so I don't have to re-enter things. But the first thing I'll do, just so I don't forget, is attach my position description to this job. So I'm going to click on the Documents tab. The system will think about it for a moment. All right. I'm going to select a document from a file. And it's going to ask me to upload the file. There's a button for Dropbox. We don't use Dropbox. It's built into the system software. So unfortunately, we can't remove that button, so just ignore it. I'll go ahead and click on Upload File. I'm going to select my file from wherever I saved it earlier. And then for document category, system's a little slow today. For document category, this is a position description. And then I'm just going to title it position description. Once I click save and close, or save and add another if I have more documents. Now I've got my position description that's been attached to this new job. It's here. If I've uploaded something incorrectly, I can delete and start over. But it's, like I said, it's just like adding that attachment to an email when you've promised there's an attachment, but if you're like me, you hurry up and hit send before you remember that at the end. If you do it right at the beginning, you'll probably remember to do it. So that's my preferred way of doing it, right at the beginning. I'll go back to my position info tab, and I'll just start at the top and keep rolling down. My internal team is Stanislaus. It just happens to be for this particular job. It should say whichever department that you selected earlier, because remember, this is all pulling information from that position description. Recruitment process, a very long list. Remember, we're Stanislaus, so we're at the very bottom of the list alphabetically. And we will select staff and MPP. So it's ST for Stanislaus, staff and MPP. A lot of this information will be in for you already. Classification, salary range and grade. Classification has already reviewed it, so that should be in as well. Working title, if you haven't entered it on the position description, remember, this is whatever we will call the job when we recruit for it. So you'll want it to say whatever you think will best attract people to the position. Keep on rolling down. It's an open position, and is this a new job or is it a replacement? I'm going to click on new just for this example. Then we get to the requisition details. The reason for this recruitment, what's going on? Why are we replacing this job? Why are we putting it through for recruitment? I will just say, we'll say new position, but you can choose from any of those options. And now you have the justification for recruitment, which you can see has an asterisk, so now it is required. What will happen is once we submit this job requisition, it will go to HR, and HR will take it to the CRC. The CRC will look at this box just as they did the recruitment justification memos in the past and determine whether it's approved or not. So this is your memo now. If this job is a replacement, or if someone's currently in the position, you may want to include the previous or current incumbent. It really helps whoever is approving it know which position it is. Position type, management staff, or many other options down there. Typically, you'll be choosing management or staff, at least for our training. Hiring type, is it at will, probationary, temporary, or tenured? I'll go ahead and click probationary for this one. On rolling down, this information should be in here for you about the job status and time basis, but just verify and make sure that it's correct. Then we get down to all of that information you entered earlier about the job summary, all of the qualifications, and so forth. See, this person does not supervise employees. Now we're on sensitive position. If I look down here, it says at the very top, is this a sensitive position? And it says no. But if I look down the list, I see this person has access or responsibility for personal information. This is a yes. This is that glitch I mentioned earlier. We're working on it. We're working to get it fixed. But until that time, unfortunately, we just have to pay a little more attention and make sure that if there is a yes in the list, we select that yes, it is a sensitive position. So hopefully that will be fixed soon. Okay. Any questions up to this point?
No, sorry, I didn't realize I was on mute still.
Okay, no worries.
I was coughing, so I didn't want you guys to hear me earlier.
No problem. No problem whatsoever. Okay, now we're down to budget details. You'll see that there is no asterisk for these fields, so technically they're not required to submit the job rec. But if you have it or if you can get it, please, 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 we highly recommend going ahead and putting in your chart string for the funding. This will make it a lot quicker later on when it goes through approvals. So this is really the best place. You don't necessarily have to put in a hiring range, but this line with the budget, chart field, account string, that's the really important one. So
right, I
please
think
enter it.
budget will even decline it if it doesn't have it in there. So even though there's no system asterisk, it really is required.
Okay. Okay, pay plan is 12 months for this position. Remember, if it's not, you'll need to include whichever months they're off. Then we go down to the posting details, and this relates to posting your position for recruitment. When I click on the little calendar, I can choose my date for my review begin date. What date do you want to begin reviewing applications? Now remember, this has to go through approvals. It has to go to the CRC, and then the job has to be posted for at least 2 weeks. So when I look down the calendar, if I put I want to start recruiting a week from today, or I want to begin reviewing, that's not going to happen. So go ahead and put in a reasonable date. And again, we view this as a little bit flexible based on how quickly it goes through the process. I'll go ahead and choose the 17th, about a month, just for an example. The anticipated start date for the person, again, this may be a little optimistic. It depends on the applications we receive and how the process goes. But I will go ahead and just choose January 1st for this example. Anticipated end date. You may have an end date. If it's a temporary position, or if the position is funded by a grant and the funding will end, you can go ahead and include that end date. The next section says if you want to advertise externally, choose where you would like to advertise. So off of our website, you can click as few or as many as you want. Some of these websites do carry a fee. The recruiter will not post anything that has a fee without checking with you first. So this is optional. If you plan to advertise anywhere else, for example, if you have an industry-specific organization and you plan to post the job on their website, this is a great place to enter it so that we know where we're posting. We can have that information for diversity recruiting. So please, if you do know it, go ahead and include it. Okay, moving down to the search details. Now, in the past, sometimes we really haven't thought about who's going to serve on the committee until further down the road. We submit the paperwork and then we start thinking about it. However, if we start thinking about it now when we're submitting this job requisition, the entire process moves faster. So if you already know who's going to serve as your search committee chair, you can go ahead and put that person in by selecting the magnifying glass and then choosing that person's name. I'm just going to choose myself for the sake of the example. Click OK. Then you can also add the search committee members. And for last first name, I'm going to nominate Marla to serve on the search committee. So congratulations, Marla, you're now on the committee.
Yay.
Let's see, come on, good search. The system's thinking about it. There we go, here's Marla, we're done. And it did not add. What did I click? Did I click something wrong? Marla. Mark. There we go. Oh, haha, it's that little button here. So nothing happened because I did not click add. Once you click add, it adds her to the search committee you see in the background. So there we go. So I'll click done because I have my search committee members. I would have as many or as few as I have. Remember, there are rules as far as who can serve on a search committee. You can find those rules on our webpage under the recruitment documents, or you can ask your recruiter, and they'll help you identify people to serve on the committee. Now, part of the reason we want to put these names in now is partly to get an idea of who's going to serve on the committee, but also to speed up the process. Anyone who serves on a search committee has to complete the recruitment and searches module in CSU Learn. If they have not completed that training within the past 2 years, they'll have to complete it now. What that means is, if we're still waiting on people to finish their training in CSU Learn, we can't release the applications. So there have been occasions in the past where we're waiting on 1 or 2 members to complete the training, and HR is holding on to applications and instead of letting the committee go forward and begin the review. If we put in the search committee members now, we can really jump on it and make sure that everyone completes the training before applications are ready for review, and things will move a lot faster down the road. It also lets us know who's going to serve on the committee and who will need access to this job. So this is a very important section.
Can I ask for like 5 minutes to use the bathroom and come back?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take a 5-minute break. No problem.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry.
No, all right. Just stop the share and
Thank you.
no worries, no worries. Okay, we'll go back to the screen share. Okay, let me know when you can see my screen again.
I can see it.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so we've just talked through the search details. Now we'll go ahead and scroll down. The last section on the job requisition is users and approvals. Now we'll start with the reports to supervisor name. To whom does this report? We have this already plugged in here based on the reports to field and the position description. If that's incorrect, go ahead and change that. Administrative support. If you have someone in the office, which may be you, who will be assisting with administrative support for this recruitment, you can go ahead and put this person's name in here. Remember that this does not automatically give that person access to the system. You will need to do the YP information security report or request to make sure that you have access. Hiring administrators here as well, it's already plugged in. And then if I look at approval process, I have something very strange in here. The coach counseling faculty job approval process. That doesn't even remotely relate to what I'm doing. If I click on the drop down, I see that I have all of the Stanislaus codes in here, but it always starts alphabetically at the top, which would be the coaching counseling. So you'll need to make sure that you select the correct approval process, and that would be either academic affairs, which is where you would fall, or not academic affairs for these staff positions. I'm going to go ahead and click academic affairs, I'll start with not. I'll show you what happens either way. If I click not academic affairs, I can see that my approval process is my AVP or next level MPP, and then VP. If I choose academic affairs, it'll be slightly different based on the academic affairs organizational structure. So it's AVP or Dean or next level MPP, and then Provost. Provost is already filled in for you. Budget will already be filled in for you as well, as will human resources. So in this case, you just need to choose the next level AVP or Dean above the hiring administrator. So if your hiring administrator is your chair, you'll need to fill in the Dean here. When that is done, you can either save it as a draft and come back to it later, although remember, when you put in names in the approval process, it will wipe it out when you come back to it in case a lot of time passes and those people change. Or you can click submit or submit and exit, which essentially do the same thing. It will move the system, it'll move this requisition through the system to the next level in the approval process, which would be the next level MPP above the hiring administrator. Remember, if you haven't done it at the beginning, just remember to attach your position description to the job before clicking submit. Any questions about the job creation or requisitions?
No.
Okay. Now, in the very, very, very rare case, you may not have a position number. Where was position number? I have that note. Now, where is position number on this form?
Nope, you just passed it. It's up.
So title, working title, campus department, requisition number.
Yeah, just down from there, right there.
Here we go. All right, here we go. I knew it was here, I just forgot where. Okay, so if in some case we do not have a position number, then we can use a dummy number. However, if we have one, if it's ever existed on campus before, if we have a position number, go ahead and include that one. But if it's not, I did include a note on the handout that I emailed to you that we have a dummy number that we can use if it truly is a new position on campus. And that's the ST00001111. So I just wanted to mention that in very, very rare cases, there may be an instance when we'll need to use the dummy number. But for the most part, you'll have a position number already, and you'll see once you put it in, you have this blue drop-down box. If I expand that box, I can see all of the information in PeopleSoft. So I can see who currently serves in the position, to whom it reports, the division, all of this information. So this blue drop-down box will be essential for you to verify that this is the correct position. It will tell you exactly what's in PeopleSoft. That was the last thing I wanted to mention about job requisitions. Were there any questions about job requisitions before we move on to the search committee review?
Nope, sorry, I muted again. Somebody walked in.
We're not in a hurry. We're making great time here, so we're fine. Okay, so I'm going to very quickly switch to a different I have to go back to my account. Switch to a different user, because now we're going to look at this from the search committee's point of view. Control that one. Okay, so what's happened in the process so far? We've created a position description. It's been approved. We then used that approved position description to create a requisition. That was approved. HR posted the job and collected applications. While they were collecting applications, all of the search committee members completed their training and they were ready for the review as soon as we have that deadline and the applications are ready. HR will pre-screen the applications to make sure they meet the minimum qualifications. All of the applications that do will be moved on to the search committee members. When the applications are ready, the committee members will receive an email that says, you have applicants awaiting your review. When the committee members log in, they'll see something that looks like this dashboard. You'll notice earlier that we had quite a few tiles. It was the hiring manager dashboard. That person had tiles for hiring and offers, also had some search committee review because hiring managers can serve on committees too. What you'll notice is when you log in, based on your permissions, you'll have the number of tiles that relate to your role. So in this case, I'm looking at the dashboard for a search committee chair. This person only has access really to the search committee review functions. So once we've received a notification that we know there are jobs awaiting our review, we'll log in, go to the dashboard, and we'll see this tile that says Search Committee Review. What we'll do is click on the one job requiring panel review. Will show me my job, how many applicants we have. And then you'll see a couple options over here. View applicants will be available to both the committee members and the chair. The chair will have access to view all of the search committee members' rankings as well. The committee members will only be able to see their own. So that's the big difference between the search committee chair and the search committee members' access. Members can only see their own ratings. The search committee chair can view everyone's ratings. So as a committee member, I'm going to click on View Applicants. And it's going to open up applicants for this job. I can see the very first thing at the top tells me the job that we're reviewing. And it has a bulk compile and send button. This will only be available or visible to the committee chair. We'll talk more about that in a moment. And then I have all of our candidates, all of the applications listed down below. You'll see that there are some banners over the list of applicants. This will really help you zoom in on which items you need to focus most on, and if there's any specific action you have to take. For example, the first banner here is CSUU 9.3, must interview. According to the collective bargaining agreement, if a candidate in the 9.3 bargaining unit applies for a position and meets minimum qualifications, we must interview that person. That will be very clear and explicit for you right here when you begin reviewing your applicants. So you won't have to dig for that. Otherwise, you'll see a banner that says Search Committee Review. Once we move further into the process, you'll see things like invited for interview or whatever process applies at that time. The first candidate here is highlighted. And then if I look on the right-hand side, I can see all of my selection criteria. This will apply to every candidate. And then I'll see the outcome. The outcome is where I rate this candidate. And typically, we've been in this file before for other training. So typically, when you come in, it's just going to say select. So I can look at Wanda's materials, and I can click the outcome. Does she demonstrate the ability to use word processing, etc. But in order to do that, I need to actually see her materials. I can't rate somebody without reviewing the materials. I'm going to go ahead and scroll down to a candidate who I know we have the resume for. So I'm going to click on Elizabeth Taylor for this example. You'll see these little icons next to the candidates' names. You'll see them next to every candidate's names. These are the documents that they submitted with their application. So for example, the very first one is the resume. I'm just going to go ahead and click Resume for Elizabeth Taylor. It gives me a link to view the document. Trying to slow down a little bit because I know there's a little bit of a lag here online.
And
Once
you
I
are
click to
always a lot slower than production, so. So it shouldn't take this long in production.
No, it's been a little laggy today, I've noticed. The last time I was in it, it was quick, and today I think there's just a little bit of maybe everyone's training today, who knows.
Yeah.
So now I can look at the resume, see all of her information there. I can use that resume to rate her on each of these criteria. You'll see each criteria has a rating, and then there's also an overall rating here at the bottom. So you would select that, and when you click either Save and Next, or in this case, Save and Previous, it'll go on to the next person who needs to be rated. So that's how you can review and rate candidates as a search committee member. If we only have 4 candidates, that's not a problem. You can open up each file and look at it, and it's really not too cumbersome. If we have 75 candidates, you may not want to sit there and click and open each resume, each application, all of that information through all 75 candidates. So in this case, the search committee chair has a feature that could really help you, and that's called the bulk compile and send. With bulk compile and send, the search committee chair can collect all of the application materials, so all of the resumes and the other supplemental documents we asked for, and combine them all into one PDF. And then the chair can give that PDF to all of the committee members so that they can open up the PDF in one window, and then they can have this window, this browser window open, and go through and click and rate each candidate as they scroll through the PDF. That makes it a lot easier than trying to open up each resume, each document as you go through the ratings. I'm going to show you how to do that. Since the system is a little slow today, I'm not actually going to run the report, because last time when it was running quickly, it took a good 3 minutes. This time it'll probably take longer. So what I would do, first of all, as the chair, and remember only the chair can do this, I would click Select All. So I'm selecting all of my candidates. And then I click on Bulk Compile and Send. Now, for application details, all of the documents, I can select as many of these as I want. You'll definitely want to select any that you requested. For example, we wanted the resume or CV. If we needed a cover letter, have resume clicked. Okay. Now, it is important to note that the more you click, the longer it will take to run the report. We'll see if it actually runs it fairly quickly this time. Hopefully it does. Create PDF. The system is going to take a moment to collect all of those documents from all of the candidates in this job. Hopefully it does not take until Christmas to create the PDF. We shall see. Okay, it's still looking for documents. That's interesting. We'll give it a minute. I feel like I should play the Jeopardy music here. All right, come on. System has about 30 seconds left before I move on. Halfway. Now remember, if you're running this as the committee chair, if you have 75 applicants, it could take several minutes. So just keep that in mind when you're running this. All right, so it finished our PDF in record time, which is nice. And it gives you the document, which is ready to download. If I click on that, I can show you what it looks like. So here's the PDF that we created by compiling all of the applications together. It gives you your cover sheet telling you all of the applicants that are included in here, the job. We have 4 applicants total. So this way, if you're a committee member, you can just scroll on to the first one, to Amy Lopez. And when you're reviewing, I would click on Amy Lopez, and then I can go ahead and review all of her information. In real life, we would have a resume and everything attached here. Remember, this is a training system. Review any of her information and then rank her on each of those selection criteria. I would save in previous or save in next, and then I would move on to Elizabeth Taylor. And I could just keep on going down that way. So you can see how that would be a lot easier and a lot quicker than trying to open each document next to each candidate name. What I can do now is send the document to my committee members. Now remember that the search is a highly confidential process, so anything we've compiled includes applicant information, their resumes, all of this highly confidential material that we do not want to distribute beyond people who are authorized to view it. So in this case, we're asking if you, as the chair, are going to send this out to your committee members, make sure it only goes to the committee members. HR is able to view the applications, so they don't need to be copied. In some cases, you may have a recruitment and the hiring manager does not serve on the committee. If the hiring manager wants to see all of the applications. If that's the case, you can send this to the hiring manager. However, again, only send it to people who are authorized to view it. So in this case, I'm just going to search and select a user. To grab myself here. And I can enter in other email addresses. So if we had Marla, I would just put, I think it's mclark@c2stan, all of those in here. And send it out to everyone. From will be whoever is running it at this point. This is Simon, who is the search committee chair. Subject, you can put something like resumes or applicant materials. And then when I click OK, it's actually going to email the file to all of those people. So remember, if you wanted to go to those people, you have to make sure they're listed in here, and you have to click OK. And it will send them the file through email, and they can view it and begin their review that way. Any questions about that?
Nope.
All right, keep on moving along here. Okay, so I'm going to close that out and go back to my main dashboard. All right, so as the search committee, we've reviewed the applications. We went ahead and entered all of our ratings. It's highly advised that the committee chair set a deadline for everyone to review all of the candidates, because the chair has the ability to run a report and compile all of the ratings for each candidate. Remember, in the past, we've kind of had to do that on our own. We've had to build an Excel spreadsheet and enter in ratings, and it really was quite a pain. The system will do this for you. So you no longer have to do all of that work and collect physical sheets. However, it does mean that all of the committees need to review all of the candidates before you run the report, or else the numbers are going to be skewed a bit. So what will happen is that the search committee chair can now go in and view the committee feedback report. On the handout that I emailed to you, I have some very detailed instructions on how to do this, because there are quite a lot of steps. So you can either follow along with that or just watch. What I'm going to do is open the jobs. I'm going to view the responses.
There's a little bit of a lag, so we're not there yet.
Okay.
Now we're there. The response.
All right. Good. And now if I look down, I can see responses for this first candidate. And you could click through each candidate and view that, but that's not terribly helpful if you're the chair. You want to see everyone's ratings all together. So what I can do is actually pull a report that Marie Hirschkorn was wonderful enough to build for us, and I think you'll really like the report. I will click on the title of the job, so this HR training only job. I'll see sort of an abbreviated version of the job requisition that we submitted. It has more information about the position itself, but this is really only what the search committee has access to. And I still have my 3 tabs, my position info, documents, and you'll see my 3rd tab here is reports. So that's where you're going to go for the report. I'm going to go ahead and click on that tab, and the system is thinking about it. There we go. Okay. I'm going to click on the report title, which is the search committee scores report. And it's going to think about it for a moment. Again, the system is usually not this slow. It's just kind of an off day, I think, for our training system. Okay. Way at the bottom, probably very hard to see. It's even hard for me to see on my screen, is this select a format. Can you see that on your screen?
No. Where is it?
Okay. That's what I was afraid of. Let's see if I can make this smaller. Okay, there we go. Down at the bottom here. So you may need to shrink the window. I had everything full screen. Do you see at the very bottom it says close window, select a format or export?
Oh, okay. Uh-huh.
Okay. So this is where I'm going to choose Excel 2007 plus file and then export. So what it's going to do is take that report and put it into an Excel format for me. It'll take just a moment here. I see now the report is ready to go, so I'm going to go ahead and click download report. I'm using Google Chrome, so my downloads appear right here at the bottom of the browser. I'm going to go ahead and open that up. And then I have to do a couple clicks before I can really use the file. I'm going to click Enable Editing, Enable Content, and then I'm going to click Control F, and again, all of these instructions are on your handout. And I will click OK. So now that I've done that, this is my report. What happened there? Thank you. It lists all of our candidates who have been reviewed. Now, if you remember, I think we had 4 candidates. It looks like only 3 of them have been reviewed. Wanda has not been reviewed yet. This is what I meant by the scores might be skewed a little bit if you have candidates either that haven't been reviewed, or you'll see this one candidate, Jagger, has a score of 18 total, but if I look at Elizabeth, she only has 8. Now that seems really odd until you look at the fact that the chair has reviewed and entered in ratings for this particular search committee member, but more than the chair have entered ratings for this candidate. So if the committee members do not enter in ratings for all of the candidates, the numbers will not be accurate because there will be ratings that will be missing. Hopefully that makes sense the way that I said that. If I scroll over, I can see I can either look at the ratings for the individual selection criteria, which is in column I, and it gives me the ratings for Amy's 10, Elizabeth 8, or I can look at the overall outcomes, which is column L. And it looks like no one entered in an overall rating for Amy, so it gives me a 0. So if I'm the committee chair and I see numbers that look off like this, then I know that there are committee members who have not entered their ratings. And that would be my clue to follow up with them and say, hey, we can't really figure out who ranks the highest or who we want to interview unless you enter in your ratings. There are multiple views for this job. Kind of hard to see. I'm going to shrink this a little bit. You'll see over here on the left-hand side, you have view 1, 2, 3. Kind of hard to see, but if I click on number 1, it's just going to give me a grand total. It's kind of it'll give you a different view depending on which one you click. The second one just gives me totals for each candidate, so I don't have to see all of the individual ratings. This is a really quick way for me to figure out, will this candidate ranked the highest? If I knew for sure that all of my committee members had put in their ratings, then I would be able to see very clearly who ranked the highest. Or view number 3, which is everything, and that's really where you start once you open the file. So hopefully you find this much easier to use than having to manually enter in all of those ratings into your own Excel spreadsheet. Are there any questions about the report?
No.
Okay.
This is exciting
close
stuff, huh, Don?
No, it's just interesting. It's a much easier way to compile data rather than have people hand fill out and exchange all the stuff. It's a lot more convenient.
Yes, for sure.
Oh, I've supported search committees in the past where you have 9 or 10 different members and you have to enter in all of their ratings one by one into Excel. It's a nightmare. So this is so much easier. I love having a system do things for us.
And then in HR, we would probably receive, because there'd be multiple copies of rating sheets. So we would have 10 different copies of a rating sheet. So this is just much more concise and not wasting the paper either.
Yeah. And the summary view is very helpful. So they don't have to sit there and compare all the sheets.
Okay. All right. So that is how I, as the committee chair, can pull all of the rankings. And then as the chair, you can take that to your committee meeting. And then that way you can all talk about who you want to enter, who you want to invite for an interview. And that's really the next step.
One question about the, I guess the application review portion where you guys, just showed the ratings and all of that. Is that the only way you can tell whether or not all the search committee members have reviewed everything?
No. If I'm right here, and let me show you how I got here again so that I answer that thoroughly. If I'm from my dashboard, I click on my search committee review tile, and then I, as the committee chair, look at view responses. I can look down at any of the candidates here. Actually, I don't want to open that. At any of the candidates here by clicking on them. and it will tell me who has rated it. It should anyway.
Yeah, it does. So
yeah,
for this,
yeah.
you can see on that, yeah.
Okay.
So
So
Marla
this
is,
one I can see
Okay.
Marla filled one in, Simon filled one in. So if I click on this and I see only Simon has filled one in, I know that my other committee members have not entered in rating.
Okay.
And that would be, if you only have 4 or 5 people on the committee, then it would be really quick to look at that and see, well, the other 3 committee members haven't filled them in, and then as the chair, email them and say, hey guys, I need your scores before I can run the report.
Right.
and we're also not, with the Excel spreadsheets that we had before, I mean, sometimes there would be just so many screening criteria. And so now, you know, the recruiters are really looking at the main, you know, the main pieces of information that should be screened. And
Right.
so, I mean, the recommendation is really to have a tops 5, 6, 7 screening criteria. So you probably won't have as many as some screening sheets in the past. So it will be a lot easier from that perspective as well.
Okay, so at this point then, everyone's entered the rating, and the chair had a meeting with the committee, and they've determined who they'd like to invite for an interview. So at this point, the chair will go into the system and actually change the status for any candidates that we're inviting in for interviews. So the way we'll do that is by starting from the dashboard, clicking on the job requiring panel review from the search committee tile. Then I can click on View Applicants. And remember, only the search committee chair can do this. The search committee members cannot change an applicant's status. Only the chair can. So then, here I am with my jobs. What I can do is click on any of the candidates here. We've decided, well, we already know this candidate meets all the minimum qualifications, and she's CSUEU 9.3, so we're going to invite her for an interview. So I will click on Wanda's name, and then what I'll see is the job here, kind of in the middle of the screen, it will say what the status is for that candidate. Are you able to see that on your screen?
Yes.
Okay. So if I click on that status to change it, it gives me all of the statuses I can select. So in this case, I'm going to invite for an interview. Now let's say I know this candidate on campus. I've already given her a call and say, hey, we'd love you to come in on Tuesday at 8 o'clock. And she says yes. So what I would click then is interview accepted, because I've already confirmed that this candidate is coming in the specific date and time. So if I select interview 1 accepted and click next, the system will prompt me to email the candidate. Just has some very basic text. We're looking forward to interviewing you. You can attach the job posting if you'd like. Information about, we'll see you Tuesday at 8 o'clock in MSR 130C, whatever it is. If it's an off-campus candidate, you may want to attach a file like a campus map, could be helpful. You can delay your email if you need to. Typically, you wouldn't need to for an interview request. You can copy additional users for the job. For example, if you want to copy your search committee members, you could do that too. Typically, you wouldn't need to. And then all at the bottom here, I will see this button that says Move Now. So once I click Move Now, the candidate will receive that email, and the status for that candidate will change to interview 1 accepted. So then I close that out, and I'll show you how that looks a little bit different. I'm going to go back to my main dashboard just so I can show you how the banner will change. So I'm back to my dashboard, clicking on the search committee review tile, clicking on my view applicants, which is where I went before to change the status. And I see the banner above Wanda now says interview 1 accepted. So this way, you know exactly where candidates are in the process. This also allows HR to know where you are in the process. If you've interviewed candidates, if you just invited them, all of that will be visible right here. Now let's say I'm going to click on Wanda again. I'm going to change her status again this time. I'll show you what can happen if I use the system to invite for interview instead of just calling or emailing the old-fashioned way. I can actually use the system to send that invitation. I would do that by selecting the status invite for interview 1, or it could be invite for interview 2 or 3, whatever you want to do at that point. I'll click next. I'll choose email applicant. And the email will be a little bit different. It'll say we would like to interview you instead of confirming your interview. Log into their applicant portal, and then you can put in information. We'd like to see you Tuesday at 9 o'clock, and so forth. You can still attach a file like a campus map if you want to. And then when I click Move Now, it changes that status to invite for interview 1. And I do that for however many candidates we want to invite onto campus. Close that out. Okay. Now I've already invited candidates to campus. We interviewed them, and we've decided that Wanda is a fantastic candidate. We want to go ahead and move her forward to the hiring manager for the hiring manager's review and interview. Now, in some cases, the hiring manager may also serve on the committee. You still have to do this process because it still moves the candidate through the system, but it does make it a little bit easier because the hiring manager has already reviewed and interviewed this person. The way that I do that is, I'm still in the screen. Remember, I clicked on my search committee icon and then viewed responses. I'm selecting my candidate, Wanda. Then I see my status change was invite for interview 1. I'm going to click to change that status. So I'll click on invite for interview 1. And what I'm going to do is move her forward for hiring manager review. This means she's on my shortlisted applicants list, and the hiring manager should see all of her information and review her. And if that person hasn't already interviewed her, he or she should do so. So I'll go ahead and click next. I can email the applicant if I want. Probably won't if you're just moving this on to the hiring manager. It'll automatically choose additional users from job because it will email the hiring manager when I change the status. I can put any information in here as I want. Any files if you want. If you want to attach your notes, you can do that here. We'll also attach it to the job in just a moment, and I'll show you how to do that. And then what I'll do is click Move Now. And you'll see again the status has changed to hiring manager review. So this person has moved beyond interviewing. What will happen is when I come back into my search committee tile and look at my responses, next time I come in here, Wanda will disappear because she's no longer in the search committee review. She's now onto the hiring manager review stage. And I'll just quickly show you how that looks. I'll click on the search committee review tile. Click on View Applicants. Now I can see I only have 3 candidates here. Wanda has disappeared because now she's moved on to the hiring manager. The hiring manager will receive an email that says you have shortlisted applicants, can log in and review them, and we'll show you that part of the process in just a moment. When the committee is done with their work, the committee chair should collect all of the committee's interview notes, any other notes they have from the recruitment, the same as we've done in the past. And then the easiest way to attach them, since we're not sending physical files through the mail anymore, is for the chair to just scan them into one PDF. Most of our office copiers can scan and send them to us. So scan all of those documents into a PDF and then attach them to the job. And the way you would do that as the chair is, I'm going to start again from the main page. Click on the Search Committee Review tile. The system's thinking about it. Then I would click on my view applicants or view responses, doesn't matter, because what I'm trying to do is get to the actual job, this HR training only job. So I'm going to click on the job title. Earlier we did that and we went to the reports tab and we ran our report. But what I want to do now as the chair is upload all of my interview notes. So I will choose documents, which is our second tab here. I'm going to upload the document from a file, this PDF that I created from the large stack of interview notes and things that I received from the committee. I will select my file. We'll think about it for a moment because the training system is slower. Okay. Document category will be interview questions and evaluation. Then I can call this whatever I want as long as it describes what I'm uploading. I'll just call it committee interview note. I can either save and add another, save and close. I'm just going to save and close. And you'll see the committee interview notes have been uploaded here. So now they're attached to the job, which means that the hiring manager and HR, if they need to, can go into the job and view the committee notes if they have any questions or want any of that reference information. It also makes it part of our audit trail down the road. So that is the responsibility for uploading the committee notes. Do you have any questions about that? I'm assuming Dawn's on mute. So I'll say that's
yes,
a no.
I just realized I was. No.
That's okay, that's okay. So we've got the notes attached, that's all right. So we'll move from there.
Somebody came in here. Every time like the door opens, I put it on mute so you guys don't have to hear all our side business.
Oh, that's okay. That's absolutely fine. Now, there is one more responsibility that the search committee chair has at the very end of the recruitment. Once the chair has moved the candidates forward to the hiring manager, that sort of pauses his or her interaction until the very end. And by the end, I mean we've made an offer, we've hired a candidate. So at that point, we're ready to send notifications to everyone else who was not selected to let them know that the job has been closed and they have not been selected. In the past, we had sort of that sad little form on our physical paper copy application. Now the system will do it for us, and it's a really, really nice, warm email. So what we'll do is, as the search committee chair, let's say we're at the very end of the process, we've hired a candidate, we're ready to go, and now I just need to notify everyone else that the position is closed. So I'll go to my search committee review tile. I will click on view applicants or view responses, doesn't matter. I'll click on view applicants in this case. And then what I'm going to do is a status change. Just like I did earlier for the invite to interview or the hiring manager review, except I'm going to change it to an unsuccessful status. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Amy Lopez. I see that currently her status is search committee review. So I'm going to click on that status. And the system will think, and it will open up my list of statuses. And there are a few I can select. The first one, which will be your most common, is search committee unsuccessful. This means that the search committee chose not to interview this applicant. The applicant did not get any further than the search committee review. If they interviewed, we can have interview 1 successful or interview 2 or 3 successful. Those are one of the 3 statuses that you as the search committee chair will select. I'm just going to go ahead and choose search committee unsuccessful just for this example. When I click next, I see that it defaults automatically to emailing the applicant. We have some text that has been approved by legal, thanking them for their application, letting them know that the position has been closed. Also lets them know that we will retain their application on file. We now have the ability to go to past applicants and use them as a talent pool. Let's say you have a job position that just really isn't generating enough interest. then the HR recruiter can go to the talent pool and find people who meet those qualifications for you. So this letter is letting them know that they'll continue to be in our talent pool, and thank them very much for their application. You can choose to delay it if you want to, or you can send it with no delay. That's up to you. In some cases, you may want to delay an email. For example, if you have an on-campus candidate and you'd like to call that person in person, especially if you've interviewed him or her, and tell that person that we've selected someone else, you may want to delay emails so that you have time to call before he or she receives a system-generated email. It's just a little more personal, a little more professional. But you don't have to delay if you don't want to. Then there's a section before the end that's very important. You'll see that it has the asterisk here, and it's the search committee unsuccessful reason. So why was this person unsuccessful? There's a very long list of options, everything from candidate already accepted another offer to ineligible to level of experience, whatever it is. Lots of reasons in here. Go ahead and you'll select that one, whichever one applies. And then when you click Move Now, the system will send that email. Unless you've chosen to delay it, then it will wait and send that email. And you'll see that the status has changed now to Search Committee Unsuccessful. What will happen is the candidate will receive an email and our system will close that application. So when I come back in here to my list of candidates as the committee chair, and I'm going to do that really, really quickly. Again, starting from the committee review link tile, reviewing applicants. And now that I come back in here, I see that Search Committee Unsuccessful. So I know that I've already notified that candidate it's been closed out. The file has been closed out. The reason we advise the search committee chair to do this at the very end after we have an approved or signed offer is because on occasion we have an offer process that does not end successfully. The candidate may have accepted another offer, may not be interested anymore, something may have happened. You don't want to go in and close out these applications and let other highly qualified candidates know that we're done unless we're actually done. Because otherwise, we've closed them out. We have to go back to those candidates and say, well, we didn't really mean to do that. We'd still like to consider you. Or we start the entire recruitment over again and post the job all over again. Neither one of those options is attractive. So we highly, highly recommend waiting until the very end to do all of this. Any question about that?
Nope.
Okay. All right, so that concludes the search committee's portion of this process. I'm just going to go ahead and switch back to that hiring manager again so we can complete the last piece of the training. Okay. So at this point, the search committee finished their work. The only thing the committee chair has not done is to change the applications to unsuccessful. Otherwise, the chair moved forward candidates for the hiring manager's review. The hiring manager received an email that says, you have applications for your review. What I would do as the hiring manager is, on my dashboard, I have a tile called Applications. So what I'm going to do is click on the Applications tile. It says One Jobs have applicants for review. So I'll click on that link. And then I have an option here to review the shortlisted applicants. It looks like I have 3 applicants awaiting my review. And when I look at this page, I can see, and knowing from our previous experience as the committee chair, Wanda has now appeared on the hiring manager's dashboard. So now the hiring manager can review this candidate. He or she can click on the person's name, see all of their application information, resumes, questions, anything else that was attached to their application. And then the hiring manager, if that person has not already interviewed and has not served on the committee, should reach out to this candidate either through email or a phone call and schedule an interview. The manager would interview this person, take any notes, and then after they've interviewed, they'll come back and they will select an outcome. This is a lot easier than the search committee chair's responsibility because there are only two options here. Either final selected HR review, meaning this is the person we want to hire. If I click on that, now I have a submit button. So once I submit, I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now you see this is no longer a drop-down menu, it's no longer clickable. This person has been moved forward to HR to create an offer because we've decided to hire that person. If I choose the unsuccessful, the same process. I choose unsuccessful because for whatever reason, we'll say in this case, the candidate didn't show for the interview. You have to put a reason for the unsuccessful. I click submit, and then I see that saved. It's no longer a drop down. This person has been moved on to the unsuccessful stage. And that's the hiring manager's interview and status change responsibility. Any questions?
Nope.
Okay, you're making this way too easy on me today. It really is. Okay. Now, as the hiring manager, I have interviewed my candidates, but remember, I need to attach any documents. So if I've taken notes during the interviews, I need to attach those to the job so that we have them for our file. What I'm going to do is, going back to my dashboard, I'm going to go to one of my open jobs. I see this particular job here. This is the one I've been using, this HR training only. So when I click on view, it's going to open that job for me. Here's all the job requisition information, which should look pretty familiar since I filled it out at the beginning of the process. There's a notes tab here. If you have a note that you want to put in, it's still loading. You can put that in. An example of a note may be confirmed with budget that funding is available. You can attach an email that shows that, whatever you want to do. However, keep in mind any note that we mention or any note that we post is permanent. It cannot be edited, and it also becomes part of the audit trail. So anything we put in a note should be professional and with the understanding that it will be available to anyone who can view this job. If I wrote a note, like interviewed candidate on November 16th, and then I attached a copy of those notes, the notes, that attachment will still appear in documents, or I can just go to documents and upload it. So I'm just going to go ahead to documents. I'm going to choose my document from a file. Just going to pick something at random. But as the hiring manager, I'm attaching my notes from the interview. Then I will call it interview questions and evaluations, and I'm just going to call it hiring manager interviews of candidate. That won't already be in there as a dropdown. It's just something I've typed in the past. So, save and close, and here we go. Now my notes as the hiring manager are now attached to the job, and they're available as part of the documentation. Okay, so that's the hiring authority review. Okay. The last two sections of the training are the offer section and the onboarding. Both of those processes are available from the same tile. It's our offers tile here on the dashboard. So we've gone ahead and moved forward a candidate to HR and said that we want to hire this candidate. HR received the information, called the hiring manager, and gave that person permission to make a contingent offer. In many cases, we need to run a background check before we can make an official offer. HR will advise you to do that, to call the candidate and say, we'd like to make an offer, but we need your permission to run a background check. May we do that? If they say yes, then we move forward. So that would be your contingent offer. Once HR knows that we're ready to go, the background check has been passed if necessary, HR will create the offer in the system and send it to the hiring manager for review. This is what it will look like. Going to the offers tile, I'm going to click on one offer awaiting your approval. I can see my applicant here is Howard. I'm going to view. The system's usually faster than this. Okay, so I can see all of the information HR has entered into this offer. I have the personal details for the candidate at the very top, the job details, and the offer details, and then we get down to the position itself. Start date. What date do you want this person to start? It's important to have a confirmed date, a date that you and the candidate have agreed on, because this is the start date that will go into the offer letter. So for this example, I'm just going to go ahead and choose January 1st or December 1st. End date, if applicable. Again, if we have funding that will end or it's a temporary position, you would have an end date. Hours per week, all of that should already be in. Just verify that it's correct. Whether this person is a concurrent hire, meaning that person will hold more than one position on campus. We'll hire an annuitant. Here is the budget details that were entered in earlier, the salary range and grade that have been entered based on the classification of the job itself. Salary and compensation. This is a very, very important section of the offer. Now, there's nothing in here right now, but when you receive an offer, it will have already gone through class and comp. So the compensation analyst will have put into this salary notes section the salary that you are authorized to offer. That'll be based on internal and external equity, but this is the area you'll go to make sure that you can offer the salary that you and the candidate have both believe is the correct salary. If you're wanting to offer something outside of that range, then you will need to contact classification and compensation and talk with them. We can't just automatically adjust it. What you will need to fill in is the base pay rate and the unit basis. Typically, we offer an annual salary if someone is 12 months. If so, choose that it will be paid monthly. So take the annual salary divided by 12, and there's your base pay rate. Enter in any other compensation they may receive, relocation, sign-on bonus, other compensation, so forth. Moving on, are they benefits eligible? Then we get to the onboarding section. All of this information should be filled in for you. However, you may need to enter the onboarding delegate. The onboarding delegate is typically someone like the department administrative assistant. This person will help the hiring manager complete all of the onboarding tasks. And we'll talk more about what those are in just a moment. But this is a great place to enter this person in so that we can make sure we note who the onboarding delegate is. We get down to the offer progress. The date, the verbal offer, this is typically your contingent offer, was extended. And then the date it was accepted, it may be the same date, may be different. The system will automatically update the following fields, which is when the candidate either accepts or declines the offer. You probably will not have documents to add to the offer documents, but the HR recruiter will add things like the position description or any other documentation here. And then at the very bottom, you see the approval process. This will also tell you exactly where you are in the process. So for example, right now, this person is serving as budget review. But in your case, it would probably be the MPP supervisor, but it tells you when the other levels of approval approve to the process where you are. And at this point, you can either save and close if you want to verify something. For example, if you want to talk to class and comp about the base pay, or you can approve or decline. These are your options here. Approve sends it on to HR and it says you have the green light, we're ready to go. All all of this information entered is accurate, please go ahead and create the offer letter. If you click decline, remember it won't just decline your level, it takes it down to the very first level again through compensation. So that is the offer process. Do you have any questions about that?
Nope.
Okay. Okay, going to close out the offers. The very last piece of the training that we have is onboarding. Now, in the past, before we had an electronic system, onboarding was not as organized as we can make it now. It was a little bit siloed. Some departments had responsibilities for onboarding, other departments had others, and they didn't really talk to each other. In this new system, we have the ability to use our applicant portal, the portal they've used to apply for the job up to this point, and turn it into an onboarding portal as well, giving that person access to forms they may need to fill out before their first day, or different tasks they may need to complete during their first week, month, 6 months, however long. We can also build in tasks for the manager and the onboarding delegate who can review and complete those tasks as well. The way that you would review any tasks that you have is also on your offers tile. So for example, I'm going to choose, I have 5 new hires. I'm just going to go ahead and choose on my new hires. And I'm going to choose Howard. Why not? He's first on the list. There's his information. But now if I look over to the right-hand side, I can either view offer details, or because his application status says he's accepted the offer, now he has tasks. So you'll notice if they're still in the prepare offer or offer approved stage, you won't see tasks yet, not until they become an official hire. Now that we can view all tasks, you scroll down and you will see you have tasks either assigned to both you, the hiring manager, and the new employee, or you can break it down by manager or employee. I'm just going to click on all for right now to give you an idea of the kind of new hire tasks we assign. So for example, before his first day, so here's the time frame. Before his first day, we're asking Howard to fill out the new hire starter form, Form I-9, Oath of Allegiance, things that they would typically wait until they come into HR and then spend a very long time filling out forms while someone watches them. This way, Howard can fill those things out ahead of time, cut down the amount of time that he needs to spend in HR, and have a more productive first day at work. We can include links to any forms he needs to download or sign. We keep on going down. We have things like the direct deposit enrollment and so forth. Now we see that we have some tasks now for the hiring manager. And you'll notice that because the second column is assigned to, up till now, everything has been for Howard, but now we get down to Sunny, his manager. Her first task is to plan the first day for her employee. She also needs to do things like identify a workspace, make sure that he has a desk when he comes to work, order any technology like a computer, order a phone if he needs one. All of those things are here. I'm just going to go ahead and click on the manager tasks just so we can look just at the tasks you would be filling out either as the manager or the onboarding delegate. So before the first day, we just talked about those tasks. Then if we get to your first day, department orientation, introducing Howard to the rest of the department, doing a systems access request so that we can get him up and running on our systems. During the first week, going to do a key request, other things of that nature. So you see, all of these tasks are really there just to help you have a checklist to get someone on board in a very organized manner. There may be steps or tasks that you need to do that are department specific, that aren't things that we assign to everyone. For example, you may have something like a lab safety form, and not everyone's required to fill that out. But if you have that, you can create a new task for either yourself or the candidate. When you add it for the candidate, it'll appear on his or her onboarding dashboard as well as part of the task. So you have the ability to add these tasks as you need to. The way that you would do that is by clicking this blue button that says Add New Task. When I add that, it's going to ask me for a title. I'm going to just say Review Lab Safety Form just for this example. Your group is just a word for the deadline. Do you want this done before your first day, on your first day, first week, first 30 days, wherever? I'm going to say before your first day. You can set a due date if you like. I know we're not hiring him till December 1st, so I'm going to say the 3rd is the deadline for this. You can put a description in here. If you have a link to the form, this is the place to put the link. Activity type is not something we use. And then who are we allocating this to? Are we sending it to the manager, or in this case, we're assigning it to the employee? So when I create that, I can now look at the employee task by clicking on the employee button. And I can see that we've added this task to review the lab safety form assigned to him with his deadline. Currently it's open, so he has not completed it and we have not passed the deadline yet. If he hasn't completed it and we've passed the deadline, you'll see that you'll have this red overdue notification. So this really helps you as the manager stay on top of where your employee is, what they need to complete, and just making sure that everything is settled so that they can get off to a successful start. That is the onboarding section. Are there any questions about that?
No, I like the checklist though.
It's really nice. So when we ran the training in person, I think it was last week, we actually had someone who was a new hire, and she showed us the new hire dashboard, the new hire portal on her phone.
Oh.
And she could actually, she can actually view all of these tasks on there and complete them from her phone. So it's really, really neat. I think it's a tool they'll really like. Okay, well, that completes all of our content. We were ahead of time today because you were really easy on me, didn't ask a whole ton of questions. So, so do you have any other questions?
I haven't seen the system before, so I mean, a lot of this stuff's new.
Okay. Well, again, we have all of our materials, our training guides, and we'll have this recording up on our training webpage. You also have all of the contacts, any of the HR recruiters, if you have any questions, like Michaela Dole or Gabby Bugie. Veronica Taylor and Marla Clark are always available as well if you have a specific question. So we're always available to help. And let's see, is there anything else? Let me go back to my PowerPoint and make sure I haven't forgotten anything. Nope, I don't think so.
So is there a separate thing for students?
No.
Go ahead, Mel.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
The actual training for CHRS is the same. So you would just select the different, the student process in that field of the recruitment process field. But there is I think you attended. I think I was in the student hiring information.
Yeah, all that stuff looked new because I hadn't seen any of the system yet. So some of those references, like I would say, were lost on me in that training because I hadn't seen anything in the system.
Yeah, so we have that overview training on just more of the student process, student hiring process, and then we have this specific to CHRS Recruiting, which all of what Kim went over applies to all recruitment processes. On the HR side, the faculty hiring is a little different, and they have a separate training if you're going to be involved in hiring faculty. They just have different processes for that. But for staff MPP, work study, student assistant, pretty much everything applies. Some processes might not have a search committee. Some student hires don't have a search committee, so you would, completely kind of ignore that, but everything else applies.
So if I wanted to do the faculty one, I do something with Marie?
Yeah, so you sign up. It's on the same CHRS Recruiting training page where you signed up for the staff MPP training. And Marie is the facilitator of that. So the dates and times that they have some trainings available is on that website, and you would register. Probably, I mean, since you've been already, you know, exposed to this training, it'll be really simple for you. It's just a matter of the faculty process. They have some other steps in the process that we don't need to have on the staff MPP side.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see some of that stuff, because I have helped organize the last couple of searches, and this system I could see could simplify a lot of what we were doing.
Yeah, and it might be better, since you've gone through this training, I can just reach out to Marie and we can set up maybe like a one-on-one, since you've already been exposed to the basics, just to really kind of, you know, a shortened version, just to kind of highlight the differences in kind of the faculty process, rather than going through the whole training. But
Okay.
it's up to you if you prefer to go through, you know, the entire line.